have a secret. Hi, my name is Jay and I have a secret. I start school in the fall and I'll be in 6th grade. One day my dad said we would have to move into another city and I would have to go to a different school. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared and excited all at the same time. When moving day came, my dad helped me pack all my things and then sat me down with a concerned look on his face and said, "Jay, you know I love you and I just want to keep you safe." "I know, Dad. What's wrong?" I replied. "Nothing, son. It's just that the kids at the new school might not know about your secret. They might not have all the information about it." "I know, Dad. It'll be our little secret." When school began, I made friends with my very first day. I met 2 boys, Charles and Bobby. Charles, Bobby, and I had recess, gym, and band, and health together. We often had secrets together that we wouldn't tell a soul. After my first day at school, I talked with my dad and asked, "Dad, why do I have to keep my secret?" "Because I have to keep you safe," he exclaimed. "There are people out there that will want to hurt you if they found out your secret. They might not let you go to school with them, or worse, they might not want to be your friend anymore." "But Dad, it's my choice," I said. "No, it's not, and that is my final answer. You will not tell anyone. Now go to your room," he yelled. I stomped my feet up the stairs, went into my room, sat on my bed, and began to cry. My dad was cooking dinner downstairs, but I didn't want to eat. But because of my secret, it was important for me to eat all my meals every day. Dad shouted from the kitchen, "Jay, dinner is ready." Dad cooked my favorite food, pizza. Well, he actually had it bought by Big Daddy A's pizza shop. It was my favorite kind of pizza, a cheese pizza with pepperoni. The next day at school, I forgot to tie my book bag up tightly. I was running down the hallway and everything fell out of my backpack, and I mean everything. Bobby saw what happened and came over to help me. "Let me help you, Jay," he said. He began to put all my things back in my backpack, but then Bobby noticed a box of pills that also fell out. "What's this?" he said, looking puzzled. "Put that back, it's mine. I need those pills, and it's my secret," I yelled. Bobby began to look upset. "I thought we were best friends. Best friends don't keep secrets from each other. Tell me what your secret is," he demanded. "I'm sorry, Bobby, but I can't tell you. My dad told me not to." "Fine. Then don't tell me." Bobby walked away, looking red and angry. It was recess time, and the sun was out and very bright. There was a big game of dodgeball, and I wanted to play. I tried to dodge the ball as much as I could, but every single time we started playing, Bobby and Charles would try to throw the ball at me, and only at me, until they got me out of the game. After recess was over, I walked over to Bobby and Charles, but they walked away from me. I started to cry, and I ran into the bathroom where I had hoped nobody would see me. When I was done crying, I washed my face and washed my hands in the sink. I opened the door to leave the bathroom, and there was Nurse Sarah. Nurse Sarah was blonde, pretty, and smart. She always knew what to say, was always there to listen to me. "What's wrong, Jay?" she asked. "My friends hate me because I will not tell them my secret." Nurse Sarah could always keep a secret. She took me by the hand and walked me into the office. I sat down in a wooden chair in front of her desk. "So, Jay, what would you like to talk about?" she said. I don't know, I replied. Well, let's first start with me asking you some questions. Okay, I said. Are you comfortable here in my office? Of course I am, I replied. Does the secret have anything to do with your dad? Well, Jay, if you tell me, it will be between you and me. No, it's about me. I have to tell someone or else I'm gonna burst. I took a deep breath and I told her my secret. Nurse Sarah, I have HIV. I was sure she was going to tell me to leave her office. I watched to see if Nurse Sarah looked scared or mad, but she wasn't. I asked, Are you okay? She said, Yes, I'm perfectly fine, but are you okay? Yes, but you see, my friends found my medication for my HIV and now they won't even talk to me anymore. They won't even want to know me. Nurse Sarah sat in her chair, then she jumped up and screamed, I've got it! Jay, I think you should make a presentation to the school about HIV. But before we do this, I will have to have a meeting with the principal, Mr. Terry, and your dad. My dad? I don't know if that's a good idea. She then touched my hand and said, Children need to know about HIV. They need to know not to be afraid of you. And most of all, they need to know that you are not afraid. Jay, tonight you should have a talk with your dad about this presentation. After I left Nurse Sarah's office, I felt a little better. She always had a way of making me feel better just by listening to me. After school was over, I got on the bus to go home. I often sat in the back of the bus with Charles and Bobby, but today I sat up front because I wanted to be alone. Charles and Bobby were my best friends, and I missed them. I thought about what Nurse Sarah said about telling kids about HIV. Maybe if I tell the school about HIV, my friends would understand why I didn't tell them of my secret. When I got off the bus, I waited for Bobby and Charles. When they skipped off the bus, I yelled, Bobby, Charles, wait! They stopped and turned to me. What is it, Jay? Bobby said. I want to say that I'm sorry for keeping a secret from you, and you will know my secret really soon. Charles looked at me and said, Okay, Jay, so are we friends again? Of course, I joyfully replied, and they walked me home. When I got home, Dad was there. This gave me something to think about, how I was going to tell him. I wanted the school to know my secret. When I heard the front door open, I raced downstairs before my dad could even take his jacket off. I said, Dad, we have to talk about my secret. He said, Okay, let's sit down and talk. He sat in the family room, which had my mother's picture hanging in it. It always made me feel warm inside to see her face. I wonder what kind of person she was, because I never met her. My dad looked at my face with a smile and asked, How was your school today? It was good, Dad, but I want to ask you something. He looked with concern and asked, What is it, son? He stood and looked down at me. He began to walk around our wooden coffee table. When Dad thinks he walks around the house a lot. Then suddenly he stopped and sat down next to me on the couch and asked, Jay, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to tell everybody your secret? How did you know? I know everything, son. I took a deep breath and remembered what Nurse Sarah told me. Dad, I love you very much, but I have to do this for me. I can't be afraid of people knowing about HIV all my life. I want to educate the kids at school and make sure when I tell them that they don't have to be afraid of me. They need to know that HIV affects everyone. Me, the kids at school, women, and even you, Dad. I know, son. I know. I think it's a good idea. But I want to have a meeting with your teachers and Mr. Terry, your principal, before we tell anyone, okay? Okay, Dad. I replied. With that being said, he gave me the biggest hug in the world. When it was bedtime, I sat in bed, looking up into this night sky, and I had wondered if my mom was watching over me. I think she was. The next morning, I got on the bus with Bobby and Charles. It was so nice to have friends again. It was like nothing had changed between the three of us. We were the best of buds again. During health class, I got called into Nurse Sarah's office. I walked down the hallway to the nurse's office, opened the door, and I was surprised to see my dad and Mr. Terry. Mr. Terry said, "I've been talking with your dad, and he has told me that you have HIV, and that you want to talk to the school about it. Is that right?" Yes, Mr. Terry," I said. "I also had a long talk with Nurse Sarah, and she wants to help you with the presentation. Is that okay, Jay?" I looked and smiled at my dad. Yes, I want Nurse Sarah to help me. Mr. Terry looked at me with watery eyes and said, "Jay, I think it's a great idea. You're so brave, and I know you will do well." My dad hugged me and said, "I love you, son." And I said, "I love you too, Dad." Nurse Sarah came into the office and said, "I'm so happy you want me to help you with this." She hugged me and said, "Thank you, Jay." "No, thank you, Nurse Sarah. You really helped me stand up for myself." My dad went back to work, and I stayed with Nurse Sarah and Mr. Terry. "Would you like to do your presentation on Thursday?" said Nurse Sarah. "Sure," I said. Mr. Terry stood up. "Okay, Jay, I will tell all the teachers that you will be giving a special presentation on HIV on Friday. Thursday." He left the room. "Jay, can you meet with me after school every day this week so we can help plan what you want to say about HIV?" Nurse Sarah said. "Yes, ma'am," I said with joy. Since it was Wednesday, that would give me enough time to plan out what I wanted to say. I talked with Nurse Sarah the whole day. We talked about a lot of things and how I should prepare myself for my special presentation. She had me read books, go on the internet, and talk to kids that also had HIV just like me. When I woke up Thursday morning, I could think about was my presentation was tomorrow. I wonder what the kids will think of me afterwards. Will Charles and Bobby hate me for having HIV? Will they not talk to me or play with me anymore? Will people not want to go to school with me? I got ready for school and ran to the bus stop. Bobby and Charles were already there at the bus stop waiting for me. "Hey, Jay," they said happily. "Hey guys, how are you?" I replied. "We're fine. Hey, do you know tomorrow there was going to be a special presentation? Our teachers told us about it, but they never said what it was about." I tried not to let on that it was me. "I heard about it too," I said. "I can't wait to see what it's all about," Bobby exclaimed. When the bus dropped me off at school, I went to Nurse Sarah's office and she looked very happy to see me. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" she said. "Yes, I'm a little nervous, but what if the other kids make fun of me?" I asked. "I'll be right there with you. They will not make fun of you, I promise. Now go to class and don't think about tomorrow. Just have fun today and focus on your classwork. I'm sure tomorrow will be fine," she said with a smile. The day went by so fast. Before I knew it, it was time to go back home. When I got home, I ran upstairs to do my homework. After I was done my homework, Dad came home, but he had a surprise. Yes, you guessed it. Another pizza with Big Daddy A's Pizza Shop. I ate 3 pieces of pizza and went right back upstairs to finish my homework. When it was time for bed, I stared at the picture of my mom. I hoped she would be proud of me for doing something so brave. Time for bed, Dad said. Okay, I'm going, I grumbled. So you ready for your big day tomorrow? He asked. I'm scared, Dad, I said. I know you are, son, but think about all those kids and adults that you will help by telling them about, and educating them about HIV. Now go to bed. You have a big day tomorrow. When Dad turned off my bedroom light, I went to sleep. Friday morning, I walked slowly up to the bus stop. I saw Bobby and Charles at the bus stop. Hey, Bobby. Charles, how's it going? I'm fine, Charles replied. This school day is going to be a quick one because there's a special presentation everybody's talking about, said Bobby. Everyone's talking about it? I said. Yes, everyone, Charles replied. I didn't know everyone was talking about it. When the bus stopped at school, I jumped off the bus and ran to Nurse Sarah's office. She stood by the office door and she could tell I was scared. Nurse Sarah looked at me and then smiled. Jay, you are a very special boy and so very brave for doing this. I think you're going to do great. The bell is going to ring soon. All the students should be in the meeting room so they can see and listen to your special presentation. Are you ready? I looked at Nurse Sarah courageously and said, I'm ready. The bell rang and the sound of the bell made me shiver. As I walked into the meeting room, all the kids were watching me, so I started my presentation. Hi, I'm Jay, and I have HIV. Everyone in the room looked shocked. I see some of you are surprised by what I said. Maybe it's because I don't look sick. People living with HIV can be white, black, Latin, or Asian. HIV touches every age. There are kids like me around the world living with HIV, and there are older people living with HIV too. Everyone seemed to be paying close attention to me. People were at the edge of their seats wondering what I was going to say next. I began to feel more comfortable when I was speaking in front of the school. Just because I have HIV doesn't mean that you can get it too. You can't get HIV from touching me, playing games with me, hugging me, or just talking to me. HIV is a virus, so I have to take special care of myself. Every day I take pills so that I will not get any sicker. If I don't take these pills, I'll get sicker. I showed the school my pills, and Bobby and Charles both looked with amazement. Now I'm willing to answer any questions if you have any. A girl raised her hand, and I pointed at her. Jay, can I come up there and give you a hug? She asked. I love hugs, and I happily said, yes, of course. She gave me a hug, and she had started crying. So why are you crying? I asked. She said, I'm crying because my uncle has HIV too, and I'm happy that someone did this to help inform us kids about HIV. There was another question from a boy with a bright red cap. He asked, does it hurt, Jay? I said, no, it doesn't hurt, but sometimes the pills make me tired. But other than that, I feel good. There seemed to be no more questions, but the kids seemed to be whispering a lot. I looked over to where Charles and Bobby were sitting and couldn't find them at all. Nurse Sarah walked up to me and stood in the middle of the meeting room. That concludes our special presentation, and I would like to thank Jay for taking the time to talk to us about HIV. Thank you, Jay. As she started to clap, every teacher and student stood up out of their seat and began to clap. I was surprised that they still liked me. The kids in the school were clapping for me. They were clapping because they had in some way opened up some of their eyes, minds, and hearts. I began to cry with joy. The kids, one by one, left the meeting room to go back to their class. As I said goodbye to the last of the kids, I felt someone poking me in the shoulder. I turned around, and it was Dad. It turns out Dad had been listening the whole time. He looked at my face with tears in his eyes and embraced me. Jay, I have never been more proud of you than I am now. You're a good son, he said. Thank you, Dad. I was so scared that the kids were going to make fun of me or be mean to me, but that's not what happened at all. I hope Charles and Bobby still want to be friends. As he looked at me, I smiled, and he replied, I hope so too, son. But guess what? I'm taking you out of school for the day so we can spend a nice day at home. When we got home, I was so tired. Dad, I think the presentation made me tired. Well, son, you might want to take a little nap while I whip up a surprise for you. Okay, Dad. I love you. I love you too, son. I raced up the stairs and jumped onto my bed. As soon as I could close my eyes, I began to sleep. I woke up about 2 hours later to my dad's voice calling me downstairs. Jay, can you come downstairs, please? I jumped out of bed and ran downstairs to the kitchen, and to my surprise, my dad had baked me a cake. On the cake it said, I'm proud of you, love, Dad. Wow, Dad, is this for me? This is all for you, champ. But I think I'm going to have some cake too. After dessert, I walked upstairs and got into bed. I stayed awake thinking about what Monday at school would be like. The door slowly opened and it was my dad. He walked over to my bed and sat down. Are you okay, son? I know you're worried about school on Monday. Dad, what if the kids don't want to play with me anymore? What if they treat me differently? I don't want to lose my best friends, Charles and Bobby. Dad, what do I do? He looked at my face and he could see I was afraid. Dad walked out of the room and went into his bedroom. I heard him open up the drawer, take a deep breath, and then close the drawer slowly. He walked back into my room and sat at the end of my bed. I pulled the bed covers over me and sat right beside him. Dad, what's wrong? I said. Jay, there's something I want to give to you. It was your mother's. She was a very brave person, too. Dad opened his hand and there I saw a plastic red ribbon. I didn't really know what it was. Dad, what is this? I said. This is a pin you can put on your shirt. The red ribbon is to raise awareness about HIV. The ribbon is to make sure people remember that HIV can happen to anyone. It was your mother's and she would want you to have it and be strong. She often wore it, and I'm sure now is the time that she would want you to have it. Dad put the plastic red ribbon in my hand, and as I held it tightly, I thought about my mom and how she would be so proud of me. Okay, son, time to bed. Time for bed. Okay, Dad. Love you. Love you too, he said. As he walked out of my room and shut the door behind him quietly, I put the plastic ribbon next to my lamp on the side of my bed and fell asleep. Monday morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes. Dad made me a big breakfast to make sure that I had a good start to my day. I had pancakes, scrambled eggs, biscuits, and bacon. I went back upstairs to get ready for school. When I was about to grab my shirt to put on for school, I noticed the plastic red ribbon my dad had given me. I put on my white shirt and pinned on my red ribbon. I walked out of the house to the bus stop, and I saw Bobby and Charles. They looked at me, whispered to each other, and I said, Hey guys, how are you doing? Hey Jay, we're fine, how are you? Said Charles. I'm doing fine, I replied. So what did you guys think of my special presentation yesterday? at school? I asked. I thought it was great. I'm glad you are our friend, and we wouldn't want it any other way, said Bobby. Yes, of course, Charles agreed. I thought that HIV was a grown-up disease. I didn't think that kids could have it too, Bobby said. Yeah, I know, that's why I had to give that special presentation. I just got tired of having to hold the secret from you guys. We know, and it's okay. We're still your best friends, said Charles. After that being said, all three of us hugged and vowed to be best friends forever. Guys, I'm a little frightened to go back to school. What if the other kids make fun of me? I asked. Do not worry about those other kids. Bobby and I are your best friends and we love you, Charles replied. Hey, what's that? Bobby pointed at my plastic red ribbon. It's to make everyone aware of HIV, I replied. That's so funny, Charles chuckled. Your father called our parents last night. He told us what the red ribbon was, and he told us that you might wear yours today. Our parents bought us red ribbons too, and after talking with them, we decided that we wanted to wear our red ribbons too. So Charles and Bobby put on the red pins on their shirts. I smiled. Thank you guys. I'm so happy that you did this. The bus came to the bus stop. Bobby, Charles, and I jumped on the bus proudly as we wore our red ribbons for all to see. They all asked, where did we get them from? And what do they mean? I told every kid on the bus that morning what the red ribbons stood for. To my surprise, they couldn't stop talking about the red ribbons. Even after we got off the bus, and even after school was over. On December 1st, I jumped out of bed to the smell of warm pancakes smothered in butter and syrup, turkey bacon, and scrambled eggs. I ran down the stairs. Dad said, Wow, I'm hungry. I could smell breakfast when I woke up. I thought you might, son. Do not forget to wear your plastic red ribbon today, Dad replied. Why? I asked. Well, Jay, today's a special day called World AIDS Day. This is a day to make people aware that HIV is everywhere and can affect anyone all over the world. I went on my way to the bus stop and met up with Charles and Bobby and noticed that they were wearing their plastic red ribbons too. Hey, I see you're wearing your red ribbons too. My mother said today was World AIDS Day, and it's important, replied Charles. My dad asked me to wear my red ribbon too, said Bobby. I could hear the sound of the bus coming, and as it stopped at the bus stop, I noticed that all the kids on the bus were wearing red ribbons too. When I got to school, I had noticed every kid in school was wearing red ribbons. Mr. Cherry, the teachers, and of course even Nurse Sarah was wearing a red ribbon today. After school, I went straight home and told my dad what happened. I ran to my dad and hugged him with all my strength. After dinner, I ran upstairs and got right into bed. As I closed my eyes and thought, it made me feel that the other kids cared about me and that my best friends were there for me. Even when people are different, we can still learn from them. When we are not afraid of others, we can learn things we didn't know before. That is the lesson we all should learn. The end.